You are about to experience a level of nerd never before seen or heard. The Dorkfather has summoned his associates. Together they have formed the Nerds with Curds Network. Joshua Turbo, the greatest underscore in the multiverse. Xavier Michaels, now broadcasting on Channel 79. Greg Berlin and his upcoming podcast, Bikini Bistro of Sin, along with the Dorkfather. Let the Nerds with Curds replenish your cup of pop culture. And now, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. He invented the hula hoop and exclamation points, broadcasting live deep underneath his parents' basement, and the holder of the Intercontinental World Vice Championship of the planet, Ryan the Dorkfather Schwartzman.
This video is brought to you by Glumer Games Mystic Days, the Caldwell edition. The Kickstarter includes 4 hardbound books, Monsters and Mayhem, Magic and Treasure, Player's Book, and Adventure Guide. OSR style, 6 classic stats, no character classes, you build the character you want, no initiative to slow things down, no OP characters, and death is always on the table. You roll to cast, failure could lead to an explosive catastrophe, and every weapon is unique. Polearms get the place they deserve with every weapon having a reach modifier, and monsters are bestial and not humanized. With fantastic cover art by Clyde Caldwell, this is old school gaming the way you remember. Links below.
All right, everyone, welcome to a special NerdCast with the Dorkfather. We have the gentleman from Mystic Days. We have Andy Thomas, Dave Yaeger, Ron Christopher, and William from Argos Creations. William, what's your last name again?
Hart.
Hart. I forgot to write that down. All right.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet everyone. Welcome to the NerdCast on a special broadcast here. You guys are amazing. You guys have amazing stuff. We need to talk about it.
Well,
you got a Kickstarter that's coming out.
Yes, we do.
All right, Andy, go ahead and tell us a little bit about it.
All right. So it's Mystic Days Caldwell edition. And that's because we have Mystic Days, our very first edition. We've got out on the market right now. We had a Kickstarter last year. So we've got the white books. So 3 of those. And I believe EverCon was the first place we actually played Mystic Days after we finally got the rules. Yeah, sweet.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Sweet. So, and
that's pretty cool.
I can tell you it's
Ryan is special.
A lot of people tell me.
So yeah, that was.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, so we've been to the last 2 EverCons, and we're coming to the next EverCon with the new edition. So we're going to launch this Friday with the Caldwell edition. And how that came about, we got in touch with Clyde Caldwell, and long story short, Clyde Caldwell is freaking awesome. He is just the easiest guy on the planet to work with. He is so gracious and just a great guy. And he was willing to work with a couple of guys that, I mean, we're just nobodies out here in the indie market. And Clyde said, yeah, I'll license some artwork to you guys and you can put them on your covers. And so he's been working with us every step of the way. We keep him in the loop, and he loves everything that Cully Smutzler is our graphic design artist for the artwork on the covers.
Okay.
And he's not with us, but he's part of the group, and everything that he's been doing, Clyde just absolutely loves it. And if there's an issue that Clyde has with it, Cully fixes it, and if Clyde's happy with it, then we put it out there. So everything that you'll see on our Kickstarter, all the images out there right now, Clyde has said, yeah, that's good to go. I like that.
All right.
So that's really cool.
That is awesome.
So along with the really iconic artwork to go on the covers, we've included a bunch of content now because it was it came out last year, and we got the books shipped out finally. This year this spring, the first edition, those white covers are in the hands of our backers, and there's the core mechanics won't change, but there's a lot of content that we're adding to it. And so with that, I'm going to switch that over to Ron Christopher, because Ron is one of the key elements of the increase in content, because he brings to the table more monsters, practically doubling our monsters overnight just with Ron's edition. And if I can show this book, this is Ron's book. And he's one of those old school gamers. He likes 1E. And this book, Ron's old school compendium, is filled with monsters, spells, and magic items that you can use in your first edition campaigns. And I mean, you could use them in your 5E campaigns too, but it's written for first edition. So Ron's bringing that kind of content into Mystic Days, and we're just going to kind of transform it into our rule set. But I'll hand that over to Ron.
Actually, real quick before you, Ron, hey, would you hold that book up one more time?
Sure.
Just to show like the thickness of that.
Yeah.
Side
profile. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on sale right now on Amazon.
One more. Let's see the paper side. If you turn that towards us, that's like an inch of monsters. That's huge. That's a lot. And I got to see the PDF today, and it's done in the old format where it's like, was it 2 to 4 monsters a page?
Oh, so there's a ton.
Yeah.
So it's not.
Oh yeah, I can here. If I can open it up, if you can see that.
Holy cow!
Those are monsters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the first 80-some pages is monsters, and then after that, I believe the spells are next, and then it's I think is it a 199 page book or something like that?
It is. The total is 199.
199 page book filled with monsters, spells, and magic items. So anyway,
go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I was introduced to these gentlemen through indirectly through Vic Dorso, who they met at up north at DaveCon, and through him, Rob Ritchie, who publishes a fan magazine called Flipping and Turning down here in Central Florida, where I live.
Okay.
And I don't know the interest because he's how they met and talked up there, but evidently they had common ground because they were looking for more content, and Rob Ritchie knew that I had just produced a book down here that had lots of content, and it's all first edition AD&D content, but it can be transferred over, with a lot of work apparently on Andy and Dave's part, but they're willing to do it, so I'm willing to provide as much as they can handle. But I've put this stuff together for the last 2.5 years, and I contribute to the Flipping and Turning magazine here and there with some of the stuff that I produce on a regular basis. So it got their attention, and I'm really just glad to be on board with this project. It's going to be great, and to have my name associated with it is just a blessing and an honor.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Great. So go ahead.
Yep. He's bringing that kind of content in.
All right.
But then what Bill's doing is he's bringing all these creatures that we come up with to life with pen and paper and whatever computer programs he uses to work his magic. But and I think I sent you some of those too.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to put those up, but
I can show some. We're gonna hide a couple people here. We'll show the ogre here. Oh, that's overlaying everyone there, which I absolutely love that ogre.
The ogre was pretty fun.
He'll take that.
Yeah, he's a little. I mean, ogres, have been around forever, and they go way back in storytelling. And this ogre is just. I mean, it's a big, massive Hulk, but it does have some unique features, like it can detach its jaw.
Wow.
So that's why it has such a big mouth, and it can come way down and pick up like a gnome or a halfling, and just and then just put it in its mouth in one shot.
Sure.
So that's brutal.
That's
Brutal.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have what is this, the Cory Capra? How am I saying that? Cory Capra?
The Cory Capra.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Cory Capra, yeah.
That's a sick on a good side sick, if you get the terminology there, photo on it.
Right.
That's a great creature.
Yeah, that's one of the
that.
no, and that's one of the smaller ones, I think, of the different were creatures. So there is at Mystic Days, werewolves is another traditional creature that has you see, I mean, everyone knows what a werewolf is, but and also, gamers who've been playing, for however many years, anywhere from 50 on years to 5, have already memorized the monster manual, or even in 5 months, they've already memorized monster manual. So these are all new takes, really different takes. The Cory Capra is what's known as a Logan form, and the Logan forms are cursed with like a version of lycanthropy, but affects different species differently. They mutate, deform. It just depends, on what their species is. Some of them come out looking like a wolf, some like a bear, some like a weird mutant, deformed like Fomorian kind of creature. The Cory Capra was once a kind little gnome. And so when the moons come out, they go just wild and just totally bust out. They like triple in size. Horns spurt out. Not spurt out, but sprout out. They look like a satyr in a way, like a really dark version of a satyr. But and then also with their curses, it's not just at night when the moons are out. It's when that phase happens. So that could be with the sun or night. So that just doubles the time they're out there to be threatening. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Well, who would expect a gnome to turn into something
exactly
like that? That's awesome.
Right.
You think you hate it now?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Another picture that I have is the Spelunkers. The Tomet Group Spelunkers. Just a great picture. Nice adventure there. So those are really nice.
Yeah.
Just to
and
get
those are all
a taste of what's out there.
They are, yeah, and they're all Tomet, which is that's the race that they are. So it's a spin-off of the halfling, that small, but strong power character that everyone likes to play. It's just still, again, it's different. They are like full-on resistant to all kinds of magic. So they're just total like magic tanks. They can take on all kinds of damage from it or just negate it naturally. And so they're just a real wild card in a lot of the games, in gameplay.
All right.
But yeah, I wanted to get different versions or new versions of the different species that aren't playable in other games. So you have the Tomet.
Okay, that's awesome. The artwork looks amazing. I love a classic black and white look too. Is that what's going to be in this book throughout too?
Yeah, for the most part, there may be some images with some gray tones, but generally we're doing the classic print look.
That is awesome. I think that's great. I think that's classic. I don't know too many people who think differently on that. There's a couple younger kids who would rather have something colored, but yeah.
Oh sure.
Yeah. Some of my favorite comic books are all black and white. So.
Oh yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It
spurs the imagination a lot better, I think, the black and white does.
Yep. Going back to Ron for a second here. For some of these creatures and things that you come up with, is it something where you keep a large book or something, and then you kind of flesh them out, and are you always thinking of stuff like that, or?
Yeah, actually, it's the latter. I usually I'll just come up when I'm at a loss. I'll just say, okay, I need to think of something today. What do I need to? Let me invent something that's like a bear. Okay. And then I'll look at what already exists, and I'll try to go outside the parameters of those. So it's something unusual. Even if it doesn't look unusual, it's going to be different in some way. It's either magical or it has some sort of attack mode or defense mode that's not common, that the players won't be expecting. So I usually come up with a lot of ideas, most of which find the trash can. But the ones that I find good enough to put down to paper, I send to these guys. And in the book that he mentioned earlier, I've got, between the monsters and the spells and the items, there's got well over 550 entries that I thought were good enough to include in my own book. That doesn't count all the other stuff that I've discarded over the last 2.5 years. But I'm always thinking of something.
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
I set high standards for myself, so
Sure.
I don't, I don't know how many of them were actually good, but they're good in my opinion. So I put them in the book, and time will tell what everybody else thinks about them.
Let me put it this way, if I can interject on that.
Absolutely.
As somebody that made a whole bunch of creatures for Creatures and Coins in our first edition, when I looked at your descriptions for the monsters that you created in your old school compendium, I was like, wow. I took notes, man, because I'm like, wow, just the detail and the descriptions on these things. Not to mention the overall just imaginative power in the creative process of these monsters that he has. It's like, wow, how did you think of that?
Right.
So
yeah, and I can tell you as a game master myself on things, I like a good description, that is understandable, goes into as much depth as I would as I need for things. Sometimes you need a lot more, sometimes you need a little bit, but it needs to be good enough that I can take what you've put down into that book and present it to my players.
Right, and along those lines, what I've tried to do, and if you peruse it sometime, I get a little bit wordy sometimes, kind of like Gary used to do in his descriptions. But when I write these things out, whether it's a monster, or spell, or whatever, I always want to try to forecast what players and GMs are going to think.
Mm-hmm.
What about this? What about this loophole? What about this scenario?
Yep.
So I try to include all that in, so there's a little ambiguity remaining as possible. So you may have an extra paragraph or two in some of these monster entries or spell descriptions that try to account for all the scenarios that may play out with that spell or monster that you wouldn't have normally thought of. So, but I try to be as complete as possible, and hopefully it's not overly wordy as a result.
It sounds like you've run some games where the tables have been turned by the players a few times, right?
that never happened.
Yeah. All the time, right?
All the time.
There's
every
nothing
game.
but chaos at the table. Nothing but chaos at the table.
That's what we love about it.
Yeah.
So,
but I'll tell you what, yeoman's work to these guys that are doing the conversion, because obviously it's written in first edition stats with hit dice and movement rates, all of which has to be switched over to the Mystic Days system. So that's in addition to all the work they're doing in other aspects of the game to convert all of this stuff over is just I couldn't imagine doing that myself.
It's a full-time job, isn't it, guys?
It is, but it's fun. I mean, Dave's tackling the spells because we do spells differently, and I'll let Dave talk about that in just a second. But I've been tackling the monsters, and there's 3 of those monsters from Ron and Christopher's old school compendium in our Quick Start rules. So anybody that downloads the free download of the Quick Start rules at mysticdays.com can see Ron's handiwork firsthand when they lose their player character. But they're pre-generated characters, so you're not going to be really attached to them. But so 3.
No.
Yeah, 3. I think there's, I don't know, what is there, 7 or 8 monsters total in the Quick Start rules. And 3 of them are Ron's, and they're some of the worst. So, but it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun going through and converting them, because we don't do hit dice.
Right.
We just do life points a little bit differently. So it's not a really big challenge to do it. It's just really time consuming is all. But the spells are probably the harder part. So I'll let Dave talk about that.
Yeah. Let's talk a little magic here.
Right. Well, our system's basically a sandbox system. You can do anything with magic, which is kind of nice. You can. We've got the framework to try anything your game master is going to allow. Mm-hmm. That being said, how our magic works doesn't work well with a lot of D&D style magic. It doesn't work with that, what do they call it, the Arthurian magic or whatever. Ours is a different style, so there's a lot that isn't going to transfer over. Okay. But the ones that don't also give me some ideas on what we could do to. The spell's not going to be the same, mm-hmm. but it's helping with some ideas on it. and so it's just a little different
And
process.
One thing that I was reading up on was like even just a simple healing spell, could cause the person casting it or however they're going about doing it to lose their life points if things go really wrong.
That actually happened.
That is interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, Dave was running a little scenario when we were kind of playtesting this a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that actually happened to my character. I tried to heal because I was running a couple of characters, and one of them was just about dead. So my spellcaster was like, "Hey, I'm going to try to heal this guy." Dave said, "Oh, go ahead." And so I tried, and I just about killed my one spellcasting character. But what happened was most of his life points got drained and just transferred into the other guy. So I still had a healthy guy, but it just was not not quite the way I wanted to do that.
Sure,
but
and I can see if things go really bad, it could go really bad.
Oh, it could get worse than that for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's where we kind of reined in magic because you're going to want to use your head. You don't want to use it to start a campfire.
Yeah.
You want to use it when you need to use it, and not really any other time because it is deadly. When it backfires, it can do a lot of damage depending on how much energy you put into it. Because you control that also in the spell. You can make that spell to where it'll do 1 life point of damage, or if you have enough energy points, 1,000 points of damage. But when it goes wrong, it's going to do that damage somewhere.
Sure.
Right.
In some way. So
the typical D&D guy who likes to play Magic Missile might not be up for doing Magic Missile all the time.
No.
Correct.
Yeah.
Can't spam the cantrips, all night. You gotta.
No.
Yeah.
What would a normal average Magic user be like? Is there like a certain? You said it's a sandbox. Is there like base spells or how?
No. How it works is once you have to be taught magic.
Okay.
So you've got to learn. You've got to get a tutor and teach you. But once you learn how to control magic a little bit, in our game, you harness energy from around you, around the universe, and then once you do that successfully, you've got all this energy. Well, now you've got to actually form it. So you're trying to make this magical energy do something unnatural from what it was out there doing. So that's the fight. So you're trying to form this into a spell.
Okay.
And if you do it right, then it goes off. And each harness and casting is 2 separate things, and you have to do roll off on both those. Our system, we haven't really talked about it. It's a roll off system. It's a contested roll. So for magic, the magic die is a D12, and that's the dice the magic user has to beat both in harnessing the energy and pulling it in, and then also to channel the energy into a spell. So it's 2-step. On the harnessing, if he loses a roll, all he does is access to that amount of energy for the day. If he is successful, then he's got this energy. He can either hold it and not form it into a spell, or he can form it into a spell and hold the spell. So it's an instant. As soon as he wants to release it, it's automatic. Or what was the other thing? Or he can cast a spell right away. Once you roll the channel spell, if you're successful, you can hold that particular spell. There's always a chance if you're holding energy or a spell and you get hit, you might lose control of it. And there again, you can do all kinds of different damage. Things bad can happen again. So that's another thing you've got to try and decide if you want to do that as a spellcaster, hold this energy, or if you want to wait. There's more time involved to harness and then channel. So you've just got to decide. But once you've learned how to do magic, and try any spell. You're not limited. There's no levels to spells.
Okay.
And if you want to dump every bit of energy you possibly can into that spell, go ahead. It's
that way.
Yeah.
Well, and
that's what you.
Oh, go ahead.
The effects of the spell are increased by the amount of energy you put into it. So the outcome will be exponentially different than it would be if you did like a moderate amount of energy.
Right. Like for example, we've got a fire spell, and so with fire, like in D&D, you've got fireball.
Yep.
I think you've got flame arrow, and there might be some others, but in Mystic Days, it's just fire. But within that, there are things that you can do if you use just a little bit of energy.
Okay.
Like Dave mentioned earlier, you could just start a campfire, or you could start the curtains on fire somewhere, and to cause a diversion or whatever.
Yep.
Sure.
So that's not a lot of energy that you would pump into that.
Yep.
So if it did go wrong, it's likely not going to kill anybody. Or you could dump a lot of energy, like Bill was talking about, and make it exponentially more powerful. And then if it does go wrong, a fireball is bad enough anyway. But if it goes wrong, well, all bets are off. But I should, though, point out that there are good things that can happen, too, if magic goes wrong.
Sure. Let's talk about that for a second. Yeah.
Okay.
We want the good and the bad.
Yeah. You want to cover that, Dave?
Yeah. Each spell has a table to roll on. If you miss a spell, you've got a table you roll, and depending on your roll, that's what happens. One is always good. It just dissipates. That's the only time that magic is ever going to just go away with nothing happening. And two, normally you double. You double the power of your spell. It goes off right, and it doubles. But from 3 on, it's not normally real good. But, strange things can happen. There's one misfire that bubbles will, 1,000 cubic feet of bubbles for every 10 energy points you spend or whatever is going to all of a sudden just poof into the air all around you. There's some things that can be less harmful. Some things are harmful. Tables are as a guide.
Yep.
So we're hoping that the person running the game, we call them the adventure guides, we call them the AG. We're hoping they come up with all kinds of fun things.
More about narration. It's more of a narrative type of adventure, that's guided with dice. Was that a better way? Or do you think?
I think it's combat heavy.
It's combat.
Yeah.
Okay. And we've got all the tables to do terrain, weather modifiers. We've got all that. It's all what people want to use, but it is more, I would say, more like traditional D&D as far as how it's run.
Okay.
We just do it different.
You just do it a little different.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, in the roll-off system, and I printed off a little thing from your website here.
Oh, cool.
What I prepared a little here. What you will find from Mystic Days, it's the roll-off system, which you've been talking about here a little bit. Death is on the table. What do you mean by that?
Well, there are no overpowered characters in Mystic Days. We've made sure of that. So for the players that want a superhero character, you're going to have to play 5e. But for players that want more of a realistic, as realistic as you can get in a fantasy setting,
Sure.
Right.
This game's right up your alley. So death is always on the table because the life points that your character starts with, that's it. They don't level up and get 10 more until they're just invincible. One hit can kill any character at any time, no matter how long you've had that character. So it forces players, at least we're hoping that it'll force players. That's how it's designed. It's designed to force players to think strategically and not have this mindset in combat that it's a fight to the death situation. Because in reality, whenever you get into a fight, the goal, whether it's war or a street fight, you're trying to neutralize your opponent. You're not trying to kill your opponent when you get into, you think of an MMA match. They're not, you might, use the term they're trying to kill each other, but they're not really trying to kill each other. They're trying to neutralize each other.
Yep.
So the way we've written the rules mechanics for combat is that you can realistically neutralize somebody if you take out their leg, right?
Right.
So we have broken down the life points of the body into the 6 different areas. You've got life points in each leg, each arm, head, neck area, your torso. And if you take too much damage in your arm, it's useless. We've even got a table to help you decide what to do with that if you just want to randomly determine it on the table. So, and Dave mentioned the roll-off system earlier, and the roll-off system it's a contested roll. So your character's dexterity determines what die you use. We call it the action die.
Okay.
And so the higher your action die, obviously, the better you are. And your speed score will give you a little bit of modifier to that. And your weapon reach will give you a modifier to that as well. So the larger the weapon, the bigger reach bonus you have. So in doing that, we have brought pole arms to the forefront of combat where they deserve to always have been. Weapons do different.
Oh, and I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can tell you, as
go
a
ahead.
miniatures gamer, I'm a miniatures gamer. I play a lot of pike and shot from a lot of warlord games type miniature stuff. Polar, those are amazing things that you gotta go look in history to show how useful those were. They don't get the credit that they deserve. So
right, there's a reason that spears and shields were used for thousands of years in war.
Even slings,
because they worked.
Just slings.
Yeah.
I was completely shocked. I'm a historian by just hobby on there. And to find out how often slings have been used in armies for how long, it wasn't that long ago that they weren't using some sort of slinger. You know, it was gunpowder. And it wasn't even when gunpowder was first around. It was when it was finally the most useful.
Right. Yeah, because you get 500 guys on a hill, and they're all throwing rocks.
Yep.
Dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's trouble, man. It doesn't matter what you're wearing.
That is trouble.
And if anything, it's demoralizing, constantly being hit by stuff, people being neutralized, knocked out, just being harassed. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Okay, go ahead there. I didn't. What else?
So with those elements in the combat mechanic, and then you just roll your die, you're rolling off against your opponent. Both of you roll the die, rather than it's not static. Combat is not static. And so we wanted to try to come up with a way that when you played the game during combat, it wasn't static either. And we found the contested roll is the best way to do that. So tie roll wins. If you tie, you both get to do what you were trying to do. You announce what you're trying to do before the rolls are made, and then you roll the dice. And so in that way, something always happens. Yep. Always. Every round. And so you won't get the rounds where nobody hits. And then you just roll initiative again and nobody hits.
Yep.
And combats don't drag on for an hour and a half because something happens every time those dice are rolled.
Combat is a lot more vicious than people take it for granted on there. It doesn't take, like you said, the hours on there. Hand to hand, sword to sword, whatever it is, it's over in seconds. Boom, and it's done. Something's gonna happen. Someone's gonna be, and I'm gonna use neutralize now. You got me gonna say neutralize going forward.
Neutralize them.
Neutralize them. What do you mean? Don't you want to kill them? No, I just want to neutralize them. We're gonna do that. But it's true, and your system is great for doing that. So yeah,
and it's a lot quicker. I mean, really, with the contested roll, we've taken effectively 3 rolls per character per round.
Yep.
You've got
basically 2 rolls. There's no initiative.
Yeah. There's no initiative. There's not the you hit, then I hit, and then you do damage. It's one person gets to do their action, and if they hit, they get to roll damage. And so you're basically 2 rolls. A third if the guy has armor. He does have a chance to protect himself from some of the damage with armor.
Right. Yep. We do use armor reduction.
Yep.
Or damage reduction from armor.
Which is not armor class. No
right.
Thaco.
Right.
No Thaco.
Right. No, none of that. But in so doing,
Yeah.
that also eliminated another problem that we saw in role-playing games that we were trying to not have in Mystic Days, and that is losing your players on their cell phone. They're completely distracted 25 minutes into the combat because they're waiting their turn for so long. So they're on their phone, or there's a couple of them, going over and eating pizza and talking about who knows what. They're not even engaged.
Yeah.
And so what we've discovered is that the way we do it, it keeps your players engaged. Yeah. And it doesn't detract from the role-playing experience because it happens so fast. You're through a combat, in anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, and you're done. You're onto the next thing. So
yeah.
But I dare guess.
That's awesome. No, that's awesome, because I can tell you this: I am not a late night person, and my friends are late night people. I used to own a restaurant. I'd have to be to work by 4:00 in the morning to get everything prepped. So I was not.
Oh my gosh!
But when I did get together, I can tell you, sometimes I took a 15-minute nap before it come back around to me. I'd sit there and be like, "Okay, guys, you do it. Just I'm gonna sit back, shut my eyes, let me know when it's my turn to roll." Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what happened.
None of that.
I'm not dead yet.
Right.
All right. Well, let's talk the Kickstarter for a little bit here on there, because this is what it's about. You're starting on September 1st. Kickstarter's happening on there. They can go on Kickstarter and look up Mystic Days Caldwell Edition.
Correct.
Right? All right.
And, yes. And they can go to mysticdays.com, and right on our front page, the link to our Kickstarter is there. They click on that, it'll take them right to it, and they can see the pre-launch stuff that we're doing already. So
and they can get the quick start while they're there.
All right.
There's a PDF quick start they can download while they're on the site.
Yep.
So they can play it.
Perfect. Let's. I have some different graphics here that has some of your stuff up here.
Would you be able to share your screen so we could take a?
Yeah.
With Discord.
Should be able to. Let's see if that's gonna work here.
Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, let's just see if this is going to work or not.
Yeah, I was just wondering with the multiple monitors, we got that.
Yep, I'm just gonna.
There we go. Oh, is it just spinning? We got the blue squares.
Yep, I'll have to. There we are. Well, you can see you, and you can see you again. All right. But this is what.
All right,
so I guess what we can use this to show, because I will make this go bigger.
There you go.
All right.
Love technology.
Yeah, right. Oh, she's all kind of putzing around. I don't mean to go over anyone here, but
no, that's fine. You should block me since I'm the one who interrupted everything.
Oh no, let's actually start with the box.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go over what's all in the box there.
Okay. So in the box set, you're going to get soft cover books in the box.
Okay.
And the box set is limited. There's going to be 500 box sets. We're not selling all of them. The very first two, I should say the first 50 are going to be signed by Clyde Caldwell.
Oh, that's awesome.
The first two, the first two are going to Clyde. And that was in his agreement. He didn't say I want the first two. He just said I want a couple of boxes. Well, he's getting number 1 and number 2. We're gonna have certificates of authenticity in each box.
Okay.
So Clyde's gonna get number 1 and number 2. Vic Dorso from DaveCon has introduced us to practically everyone we know in the industry, and so he's getting box number 3, and then boxes 4 through 10. Dave and Ron and Bill and I are all going to pit fight over. And then boxes 11 through 50 will be for sale. So there's going to be 40 signed box sets up on the Kickstarter.
Okay.
And so those are those are going for $300 a piece. Clyde Caldwell is going to get, and he didn't ask for this, but we offered it to him.
Okay.
And he's going to get half of that the gross proceeds there. So he'll get $150 on each box. In addition to that, then we're going to have another 450 boxes for sale, not signed, but box sets. And of course, those won't be as much, but they are limited.
Yep.
That's all we're having. The rest of the books will be in hardcover that you can get, and of course you can get the white copies in hardcover right now. But
so this
in the box set,
go ahead.
Yeah, you're going to get a set of dice, which we use a lot of goofy dice too. Since it's not a D, it's really not a D system at all. Like a D6 or D12, D20, whatever. But we do use dice, obviously. So we use the D4, D5, D6, D7. That's right, I said D7. D8, D10, D12, D14, 16, 20, and 24. So those are all the dice that we use. Those dice will be in the box set. There's 11 of them.
Who makes a D7?
In addition,
not a polyhedron.
No.
It's a Zochi. It's a Zochi die.
Okay.
Well, we got them from Caldwell, but there's a few different companies that make the D7s and 5s, but we got ours originally from Caldwell.
Okay.
So in addition to the four books, you're going to get the adventure guide, which that's for the game master, how to do things. You get the player's book. You'll get the Monster Mayhem, and then you're going to get Magic and Treasure. And in addition to those, you're going to get some character cards. You'll get track sheets, track cards. Those help the players. That engages players too. Kind of a sidebar, because the game master always has to keep track of everything, right?
Right.
Well, no. We are forcing players to not be lazy. So if you're a lazy player, you're going to learn to do your part. So you're going to have a track card. So every time you have a success or a failure with your chosen weapon or your chosen spell, you keep track of that on your little track card. Because once you get to so many points, you go up to the next die and whatever it is that you're using for that skill or that weapon or spell. So as a player, you got to keep track of that. And then there'll be some tally sheets in there, and that's for the game master, the adventure guide, to keep track of his monsters and treasure and all that kind of stuff. So just some paraphernalia in there. And then there's going to be an adventure, one way or another, to Griffin Ridge. That's the very first adventure that we ran. We played it at EverCon. Yep. It was the first one we ran at EverCon. Had a lot of fun with that. So people seem to like it. But it's an introductory adventure, so it helps players and game masters to learn how to play the game. And I think is that all that there is in the box set, Dave? Did I miss anything? I think that's pretty much it.
Screen. Was a screen in the box set?
No, the adventure screen we haven't got.
Okay.
We don't have up yet, but it'll be it'll be an add-on for the Kickstarter.
All right. So let's go over some of the other items that are on your Kickstarter. You have your Delver dice. You calling them Delver dice? So what's Delver?
Yep.
So just what Delver for the people at home?
Well, that's just another word we use for adventure.
Okay.
So
your adventure dice, your Delver dice.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Every time you adventure, you're delving into something.
Yep.
Good, bad, or ugly.
Yep. And they can get that at $8. So that could be can that be an add-on or it's just extra thing? All right. Let's see. You have an adventure pack for and are these all these? I got the prices off of there. I don't know if you want me to tell all of them for.
No, that's fine.
Okay. For well, I know it was kind of in the works. It said it was like you're looking at a preview, so I didn't want to overstep here. But there's an adventure pack that's $30.
No, that's fine.
On there, you get started with 4 adventures, a soft cover adventure compendium, and that looks fun. Let's see what else is on here. There's the player's handbook, the player's book hardcover edition. I'm pretty sure I got one of those too.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing up the graphics on here. I know that's not big.
Oh,
I'm trying
okay.
Not to don't go over too
Yeah,
many.
so
people
every
here, but
yeah, every book that you'll get in the box set, you can get in hardcover form too.
okay.
And so and including the adventure pack. Originally, we were going to put together 4 softcover books, just like a pack. And then, we had a 5th picture from Clyde that we hadn't done anything with yet, that we had an agreement to use. And so we're like, hey, let's just use it. Let's make one book with 4 adventures. And these adventures spin off of that first adventure that comes in the box set. And just take players and adventure guides deeper into the rules of the game to learn the mechanics and whatnot until they get to the 5th adventure in the adventure pack, which is kind of a spin on what's going on with WotC and their gatekeeping on everything. So you'll probably kind of see that in the title of A5. Mages upon the shores, but so but yeah, so that's what's going to be in that book. Those are not fully written yet. They're started, and the ideas are penned out, kind of on a board, but those still have to be written. So there's quite a lot left to do for the Caldwell edition. So we're giving ourselves until next September 2024 to have those out to people.
All right. We'll just run through this quick here on a couple of these other ones. You got, so besides the Player's Handbook hardcover, you got the Adventure Guide hardcover, Monster Mayhem hardcover. I want to bring up the Monster one because that looked really cool.
That's my favorite. That cover is my favorite of all of them.
Yes, and I'm going to make that bigger so everyone can see it on there. I mean, that's just that's a classic cover.
Yep.
Yeah. Enjoy that.
Yeah, we're still astounded.
Yeah. You know what? People will be... you hope everyone buys it to play the game, but in a way, some people buy it just for the artwork on there.
Well, that's fine too, if that's what they want.
You hope they play the game, but they're drawn to the artwork. I can tell you this: it is easy on the eyes on there.
Oh yeah.
So the Monster Mayhem's $50. Then another book that you have in hardcover is the Magic and Treasure, and that's $50. Right. Something that I found interesting is the Player's Bundle, which is $95. And that includes the Player's hardcover, Magic and Treasure hardcover, some Delver dice, track cards, and a character sheet. I think that's awesome to have on there. Too many companies gear towards a GM more and less towards players on things sometimes, and having that in there is amazing.
Well, that was nothing, and that kind of springs from our I don't know what you want to call it, but our idea, our goal to involve players in keeping track of stuff during the game. We didn't want to dump everything on the game master to buy everything either. So we with the Magic and Treasure, because the way we do our system, like Dave was talking about before, you can do anything you want. You can try anything you want. So the Magic and Treasure, it has everything in there for players to learn how to make their own spells and make their own magic items. So both the player and the game master need to know that. So,
yep, absolutely.
And with bringing Ron on board, we've increased the magic items and spells and monsters so much that we had to split those books, the Creatures and Coin. We had to split that into 2 books anyway. So yeah,
great job.
that's why we did that.
Awesome. That's great. I love content. I know a lot of people love content, so you can never have enough content out there.
Right.
So moving on.
And just
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just to touch on one point you were making, how a lot of systems will gear things toward game masters and not so much players.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they really, Andy and David really figured out a way to make it to get everybody involved, and also the new player. There's a lot of systems take for granted that people haven't played before. There's a lot of tribal knowledge in the role playing industry. And there's sections in both books, and they mirror each other, just like the old Red Book, the Metzler books, right?
Mm-hmm.
How to run a game and how to play a game, what to expect, what your responsibilities are, so that you get the most out of it. And it's a great way to start off both of these, the adventure guide and the player's guide, is to have that introduction, so that someone who's never played, or even someone who's played for a while but has lost some of the magic to it, can go back and see, yeah, this is what it was like when I was new. These are things that I remember I used to enjoy. And so I just wanted to add that piece in there, because it really does look, this is for players, this is for DMs, this is for everybody. And they really put those different pieces together, and it's really, really seamless. I mean, it just, and when you read through it, you're not being lectured to. It's just like a buddy is telling you how to play.
That's
It's
awesome.
really fun.
Yep,
Yeah.
and that's great. And getting to know Andy and Dave, I've always thought that we became fast friends, and you can tell it in their books that they've had here. So, a couple more Kickstarter items that you got. Hardcover book set, which is $175, and you're gonna save $40 on that. That's wonderful. Right. People like to save money.
Right.
A good bundle on there. The adventure bundle, all four hardcover books. You save $40, and then there's a couple more items in that. And then something I thought was really interesting was the Game Cafe bundle. You want just $500? That's for owners of gamer cafes and hobby shops and items like that. It's nice when retailers and things like that could be part of Kickstarters, because that was always something that they complained about in the past.
And we've talked to several store owners, and they're just regular guys like the rest of us trying to get by. Mm-hmm. And we want to make sure that Mystic Days supports what they're doing, because they've supported what we've been doing for the last 3.5 years. Yep. So that bundle is just for game store owners, business owners. So if anybody thinks, I'm going to swoop in and get a great deal on a bunch of books and dice, you can go ahead and try that, and you can back that section. It's an unlimited tier, but you're at the end of the Kickstarter, you have to present to us some forms from the IRS and whatnot that only business owners can provide. And so you're going to end up not getting what you think you were going to get. So that tier is just for business owners.
All right. And that is all of yours. So Kickstarter again starts this Friday, September 1st?
Yeah, September 1st. Yep. We're going to launch at Grand Con in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So if you don't have your tickets, there's still tickets available. And, so we've got a table, and we don't have any events scheduled, but we're gonna play some pickup games there. I'm sure Dave and I have already talked about that. Yep. We'll probably run the quick start rules at some point around midnight. But at 7:00, that's when we want to hit the go button this Friday, September 1st for Mystic Days Caldwell edition. So again, you can go to mysticdays.com, and right on our front page, the top of the page, you click that link, it'll take you right to our Kickstarter, and you can click the notify me button on there when we launch, so you can keep up with us. And you can, if you do that, you can even send us messages right now. Mm-hmm. If you see something that you have questions about or whatever, you can shoot us a message, and and we'll try to get back to you as soon as we can.
Awesome. Yep. Well, I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to wish you good luck. I can tell you this, I'll be one of the first ones in the morning to be backing you. So I look forward.
Awesome. We appreciate it, Ryan.
Oh, we thank you very much. Is there any final thoughts before signing off?
Hey, did you want to bring up the Relpartha?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Relpartha quick here.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I can't believe we forgot that, right, Ron?
And I even wrote it down.
So,
good thing Ron's here.
So. That's right. Well, I'll try to keep it brief since we're trying to cut out here. But we met a guy named Mike No at CincyCon back in 2021. Yep. Was it 20? Yeah, it's 21. Yep. So anyway, he owns a company called Iron Wind Metals, and they make miniatures.
Yep.
Well, they also own Relpartha.
Mm-hmm.
He started at Relpartha as a temp in 1982.
Oh, wow.
And he was putting the stamps. He was putting the stamps on the bottom of those red dragons.
Sure, yeah.
Remember the red dragon with the eggs and stuff, and the big gold treasure pile? Yeah, that's what he was doing. Wow. So he went from there to vice president of the company to then the company got sold to somebody else at some point, and then he ended up purchasing Relpartha. So he owns it. So anyway, I called him last Thursday and asked him about miniatures. And he said, hey, send me some pics. I sent him 4 of Bill's pictures that you've seen.
Yep.
He said, I'm going up to spend the weekend with one of my sculptors. He came back. He said, yep, my sculptor's on board with it. We're working out a price. And not only are we going to have them do miniatures, it's probably going to be under the Iron Wind Metals. And you'll see that logo on the Kickstarter too, Iron Wind Metals. But it'll be under that. But that company, that they own Relpartha. So we might end up having the Relpartha name on there. Well, we're not exactly sure just yet, but it's still super cool to be working with that company because it's the same miniatures. Even though it might say Iron Wind Metals, it's the same miniatures. So he's got miniatures that he said they haven't made since like the 70s or 80s. He's got all the molds. Every single mold for Relpartha miniatures, he owns them.
That's awesome.
So he said if you want to make some packs of dwarves or gnomes or whatever that we already have and offer them on the Kickstarter, he said, pick the miniatures you want.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
So not only are we going to have Mystic Days miniatures coming to life eventually, and we're going to do some stretch goals for those, but we can offer those Relpartha minis through Iron Wind Metals immediately onto the Kickstarter. So that's the last part of the process that we're going through this week. It's kind of last minute thing, but it's pretty exciting.
That is super exciting, and when I think when people catch wind of that, you'll get a little more wind in your sails on your Kickstarter there. So that's pretty big.
We sure hope so.
I have some Relpartha miniatures, and there was a game store in Wausau that was just mini heavy, and a lot of it was Relpartha, and there was just nothing better at the time. So. You're tugging at the heartstrings. So.
Yeah, well, yeah. He said he's got I haven't seen it yet, but he told me that he has a dragon mold from the 70s that they haven't done anything with for like ever.
Wow.
And so we're in the process of making that happen on our Kickstarter. So
that'll be awesome.
Stay tuned. We're pretty stoked about that.
We will.
So to have Clyde Caldwell and Relpartha, it's just wow! It's a dream come true. I'm 12 years old again, opening my first box of minis in my red box. It's just it's crazy.
To be 12, to truly be 12 again, that would be awesome. But we can be at heart. We can be 12, and Mystic Days is doing it. You guys are doing it. It's awesome. I want to wish every one of you luck on the Kickstarter. It seems like Andy and Dave's found a larger group, and Ron and Bill, you guys are just another extension of that family that's just making stuff happen. And it seems like things like that just they're always going to be successful no matter what the bumps in the road are. I could not. I'm a little jealous. I'm a little jealous of you guys because I just could see this just flying off. So awesome.
Well, you have been part of that, Ryan. EverCon is a huge part of our success.
Oh.
It really has been, and we can't wait to be back this January.
We had such that first year we came, played our first game there.
People still talk
You guys
about
are
it.
so gracious. It was great. Yeah.
And we love having you guys. You just brought in great dynamic. And we're gonna go for later hours. And we're looking at doing some kind of role playing for breakfast time at Denny's. Maybe it'll be Mystic Days for breakfast.
Right,
Mystic Days for breakfast.
Yeah, we'll come up. With
I love it.
We'll come up with a name. All right.
Mystic Waffles.
Mystic Waffles. There we go.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
I have to roll off to see who gets the pancakes.
Yeah, right. Anyways, I am Ryan the Dorkfather on the NerdCast, and we've had the guys from Mystic Days here. Andy, Dave, Ron, and Bill, thank you so much for being here. Good luck on Friday. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ron.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep. Have a wonderful day, and thank you. Thank you for watching the NerdCast live every Wednesday at 7:30, where we will refill your cup of pop culture with all things nerdy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends, tell all your enemies, but most of all, make sure that you tune in every Wednesday again at 7:30. Thank you so much for being here, and may the Schwartz be with you.
Hi. Welcome to Outtakes. I had some of them today. There's our outtakes. Oh yeah, I had to put that down. Oh, that is a burn. You see that? I just lifted way more weight than you ever could. You see that, Ben? Trust me. That at. You're a fucking nerd. You're a nerd. You fucking not lift any fucking weight like I do. You just do nerd stuff like eat bubbles and go to the shopping stores. Oh, yeah. You saw that. You saw that. I lifted way more weight than Benjamin Trust. Benjamin. Yeah, deep burn. You know what is going to be the best burn, though? Is what's going to happen to you at NRW. What's the name of the fucking show? What's the fucking show name? How am I spacing out the fucking show name? And I'm the nerd? You forgot the fucking show name. If you ever... That feels way better, my loveliest. Now, NRW, Pandemonium, Rothschild, Wisconsin, August the 12th. You just saw the weight I lifted. I lifted more weight than Benjamin Trust, who called me out. God. Stupid. Yes, you saw. Oh, darlings, that's lovely. This is another outtake. This is another. We're on an elevator. We are a nerd. You've seen Benjamin the Jet. Benny the Jet. Heard that before. Have the 189 IQ of your glam god. And calling all of us bag boys. That's what he called. He called you a bag boy. Can you believe that? Bag boy. You know he called you a bag boy. On the day of my daughter's wedding, he comes to Central, Wisconsin. He calls you back, boy, and then he just walks away like nothing ever happened. Oh, yes, darlings. Start over. You just heard... God, what? Ever hear of scabies? Yes, I am here to officially accept the challenge from that chowderhead, that knucklehead, that big ponchkin. It's 1986, calling us nerds. You're gonna hurt our feelings by like saying D&D ain't real. My mama said so. I'm gonna go tell her you said that right now. You're gonna get in trouble. That's right, Glaminites. We are a few days away.
I'm Rob Schwartzman. Come and see my burgers.
But you, me, the bickich, we are just